Welcome everyone. Today's topic is pre-foreclosure. Is pre-foreclosure investing the right niche for you? Okay, so let's start from scratch. What is pre-foreclosure? Okay, so pre-foreclosure is when the owner is unable to pay the mortgage payment, and then the bank, right, gave them a loan, so the bank is entitled to the property. Therefore, what's going to happen is the bank is going to make attempts to collect the mortgage payment as agreed from the owner. But if that does not happen after 30, 60, or 90 days, then the bank is going to take it to the next level. Okay, so the bank is going to file a lawsuit against the owner. In legal terms, it's called lien pendant. So the bank needs to go through the court system, and then at that point, the owner is officially in pre-foreclosure. Okay, so let's take a step back and quickly understand that in the United States, there are two types of states. You have judicials and non-judicial states. Illinois happens to be a judicial state. So what does that mean, and why would you care? It's a big difference. So Illinois, being a judicial state, what it means is that the lender, in this case the bank, has to go through the court system to foreclose on the owner. Okay, whereas non-judicial states like the West Coast, California, Texas, Arizona, they don't need to go through the court system. So what's the difference? Well, huge. The main difference is that non-judicial states, meaning states that don't need to go through the court system, go through the bureaucracy, can foreclose on the owner in as little as 6 months should they default in the mortgage payments. Whereas in Illinois, being a judicial state, it can take up to 2 years to foreclose on the owner. Now, with the pandemic, that's going to take even longer. Right now, there's a backlog of pre-foreclosures being filed, okay, until the courts open up. So Biden is pushing for a moratorium on pre-foreclosures and evictions until September, okay? So that's just gonna put more pressure into the real estate as far as having very low inventory of properties, okay? So having said that, Illinois is a judicial state, so the banks have to go through the court system. So now let me walk you through the step of the foreclosure process once the owner defaults in the mortgage payment. So they're going to default, and then they're going to be getting phone calls, letters from the bank for the next 30 to up to 90 days, meaning 3 months. And then at the end of the 90 days, then the bank is going to take it to the next level. So they will hire an attorney, and they will file a lawsuit against the owner. Okay, so it's official. The owner is going to be in pre-foreclosure. So now that is a great lead pipe for investors. Why is that? Because let me tell you, there are two main stages in the foreclosure process. At the beginning, when they enter the pre-foreclosure process, and then towards the end, when the judge issues the auctioning date, which happens after 9 months, 9 to 12 months, that the owner is still behind the mortgage. Then the judge is going to say, well, it's been long enough. The owner has not come current with the loan. So at that point, they're going to set the auctioning date for the property at the courthouse. Okay, so that's official then that the property is going to get auctioned off. So those two stages are the ones where you need to focus on. Okay, why is that? I'm going to tell you the biggest benefits, because you've heard probably a lot of people have bought properties from judicial auctions. So when the property goes to the courthouse at the judicial auction, so you're going to hear many terms. Phil, if you could please put them on the chat, because they all mean the same. Judicial auction, sheriff's auction, trustee's auction, they all three mean the same thing. It's when the property goes to the judicial auction at the courthouse, okay? So at that point, you don't want to go to the judicial auction, and I'm gonna tell you why, okay? So thank you, Phil. They all mean the same thing. You don't want to show up in person at the judicial auction. And the reason why is because it's like a shark tank. So you're gonna be competing against very savvy investors, groups that have tons of cash. And let me tell you what the problem is, that oftentimes you're buying sight unseen, okay? You might buy a piece of junk, and without realizing that, you might end up buying a secondary lien instead of the first lien on the property. So it's extremely risky. Even if you do your due diligence, I mean, you're gonna need to do like a title search on properties ahead of time before you show up. And guess what? If you happen to win the guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Hugo.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Just a connection issue. Let me see, my camera should be back up. Okay, perfect. Okay, so then you don't want to show up at the courthouse because, again, it's a shark tank. If you happen to win the bid, guess what? You're going to need to pay cash for the property within 24 hours. Okay, and you're going to get the deed after like 45 days or so. Why? Because the owner still will have what's called the redemption period. They're going to have about 45 days still to take possession of their home. Okay, so it is very risky, and not only that, but you're going to be responsible for any backed up taxes, any liens on the property. So therefore, people who go to the judicial auction, they do a title search prior to that. They know their numbers, so it is extremely competitive. Okay, it's super risky. Therefore, if you're a beginner, or even if you're a medium investor, we highly recommend you don't buy there, because let me tell you, there are really big groups. In fact, in Illinois, there are like 3 groups. They dominate the judicial auctions, okay? So they buy bulk. So there's no way for you or me or anybody to compete against them, okay? So there are groups, and they represent their clients. So they're gonna go to every courthouse in every single county, and they're gonna be buying properties left and right with their clients' money. So you stand at no chance, okay? So the problem is that you engage in a bidding war, and then you may overpay for the property, okay? And you don't know what you're buying. These people, before they come to the judicial auction, they've done a title search. So they know the numbers like the back of the hand, as far as the ARV, any backed up taxes, liens on the property. So they know exactly what they're getting into. It's for, I would say, very seasoned investors, okay? So therefore, let's take a step back. You've got to focus on the 2 stages that make the most sense in the pre-foreclosure and when the judge issues the auctioning date, okay? Why are these 2 stages the most important? Because you have 0 competition, okay? Because you're connecting directly with the owner. Number 2, you can finance the transaction using a hard money lender or a private money lender. You can also get to see the property from the inside, so you are not buying sight unseen, and therefore you will not overpay for the property because you're not in a shark tank. Does that make sense? There's no competition. It's between you and the owner. Now, between these 2 stages, the pre-foreclosure stage that happens after about 3 months that the owner fell behind, and the second best stage, which is, we call it the upcoming auction, okay? 30 to 90 days before the judicial auction happens, is by far the best lead pipe. And the reason why is because homeowners are going to be extremely motivated to take action, okay? There's a big difference because when they enter the pre-foreclosure process, they're gonna be in denial, right? They believe they're gonna be able to get out of the foreclosure process, and most oftentimes they won't, okay? However, when they're given an auctioning date by the judge, it's serious. So they've got to take action in 30 to 90 days. They've got to either sell the property, refinance, do something about it. Otherwise, guess what's going to happen? They're going to three things are going to happen. They're going to lose the property. They are going to ruin their credit, and they're going to lose any equity that they might have in the property. Okay, so you've got to focus in these two stages, pre-foreclosure and upcoming auction. So in other words, you are intercepting the property before it goes to the judicial auction. Okay, so those are the best two stages where you can buy off-market properties. Why do we call them off-market properties? Because guess what? These properties are technically not for sale. So you're not going to see them in Redfin, Zillow, MLS. They're nowhere to be seen. They are off market, okay? But guess what? The good news is that we have access to them, okay? So when things happen behind the scenes at the courthouse, we're pulling those records and we're making them available to you for you to not only understand the numbers, but also get all the information about the property, the owner, so that you can connect with the owner directly. Okay, super powerful. So those two stages are the best for you to intercept the property. And the third best stage is once the property goes to the judicial auction, okay, if nobody buys the property, guess what's going to happen? The property is going to go back to the bank. And then at that point, it's called bank-owned property, okay? So you can buy the property directly from the bank, okay? Which we can also have access to all the bank-owned properties that are still off market, because the banks are not in the business of real estate. They're in the business of lending. So they want to get rid of all those properties that they took back at the judicial auction, okay? Now, I'm going to make a parenthesis. So I want to make sure that there's no confusion. When I say judicial auction, sheriff's auction, trustee's auction is completely different from the online auctioning platforms such as Hubzu, Auction.com, Hudson and Marshalls, Xom, Williams and Williams. Those are the main online auctioning platforms. So the big difference is that the online auctioning platforms are only to sell bank-owned properties, okay? So all the properties that you see in those websites are exclusively bank-owned properties or REOs, okay? They're not gonna be properties owned by the owner. When you see those properties in those websites, the owner has already lost the property to the bank, okay? There's only one exception, and it's kind of confusing, okay? And that is auction.com, okay? Because guess what? Auction.com's pushes people to go to the judicial auction at the courthouse, and also they have inventory that is bank owned. So it's a little bit confusing. You have to see whether it's a judicial auction or it's a bank owned auction. And I'll show you that in a second. There's a question, are you able to still access private money when you want to purchase properties on auction.com? Absolutely. So even though oftentimes it says cash only, you are able to use either a hard money lender or a private money lender from auction.com. So we bought properties from auction.com, Hubzu.com, Xom.com, and we've been able to finance the transaction, okay? But oftentimes they will not allow you to use them, but over 90% of the time, you are going to be able to use a hard money lender or a private money lender. Great question, Melanie. So I just want to make sure that you fully understand. And in fact, I will jump on auction.com. So I want to show you the big difference, okay? So that there's no confusion. And then we're going to go back to the pre-foreclosure. So in here, okay, right here, let me see, it's giving me a message, exclusive deals. Okay, so log in, let me log in. Okay, so right here, you have bank-owned deals. So I'm just gonna put in the state for instance, Chicago, Illinois, okay? So I'm just gonna search. And then, so I want you to see these, that it says banked on online. Does that make sense? So these are banked on properties. Let me just quickly click on it. So it's occupied. So I want to show you what Melanie was asking for. Cash only, yes. Even though it says cash only, over 90% of the times they will allow you to use either a hard money lender or a private money lender, okay? So when you register for these auctions, you have to pay, I believe, $2,500. They put a hold on your credit card, okay? And then you start bidding on the properties. So again, these are online auctions, so these are banked on properties, because the ones that are held at the courthouse, they're not online, okay? So they're gonna send investors to the courthouse, okay? So it's a little bit confusing, but you are going to find both in auction.com. It's the only platform that you're gonna find both. Okay, bidding offers. Okay, so I just wanted to make that parenthesis for you to be aware of it. Can a bank sell an REO at auction and then still go after the original owner for a deficiency judgment? Okay, so absolutely. So if the bank, so what Rob is asking is, for instance, the owner is in the hook for, let's say, 100,000, but the house is on the water, so the house is not worth 100,000. It might be worth 80,000. So the bank might sell the property for 80,000. So there's a difference of 20,000. So guess what? Banks can still go after the owner and file what's called a deficiency judgment against the owner for the difference, like the $20,000. Okay, so that's it depends on the bank. Not all banks do that, but some do, okay? So great question. There's another question. Can you wholesale a bank-owned property and how? Okay, so that's a great question. In these type of transactions, you have to follow through. You need to buy the property, so they won't allow you to do an assignment on the contract, okay? So in fact, when you sign the sales contract with the auction inside, it's between you and the bank, okay? There's no assignment, because guess what? When you buy a property and you want to assign it, you want to have the right to assign it. In the contract, at the very top, it should say assigns or, and then your name, okay? So that means that you are the buyer, or you have the capability of assigning the contract or the rights of the contract to a third party, right? But when you get a property in the contract through the auctioning sites, there's no way to wholesale the property. You've got to follow through. Because imagine, think about this. Banks are not in the business of real estate. They want to get rid of the properties. If the wholesalers are not able to find a third-party cash buyer or investor, guess what? They would need to cancel the transaction. So there'll be so many cancellations, so banks won't allow that, okay? And in fact, you can cancel out or get out of the deal if you find major issues with the property. But oftentimes, if you do that 2 or 3 times, like with Hubzu, they're gonna blacklist you, and then they won't give you access to, I believe it's Hubzu.com. Okay, so you've got to be very careful. You've got to do your due diligence on these type of properties. Okay, so super important. Is there another question? So yeah, no, they won't allow you to wholesale these type of transactions. So auction.com, Hubzu.com are the main platforms. Okay, so now something that is interesting that I'm just looking at it that I want to show you is, let's talk about the reserve, right? The banks have a reserve, meaning that's their bottom line, how much they're going to sell the property for. Oftentimes, over 90% of the times, they won't disclose the reserve price. Why? Because it's to their best interest for people to overbid each other and overpay for the property. So let me, here, I want to have some filters in here. Okay, so you have some filters. I want to see if okay, some of them you're going to be paying a buyer's premium. What it is like 2 or 3%, and that's how the auctioning sites make money. Okay, so you're going to need to pay a buyer's premium. It's about 2 or 3% of the purchase price. Okay, some of them they're going to disclose the reserve. So let me just show you what that looks like, and that is oftentimes very important, because then you know what the bank is going to sell it for. So let me show you right here. Actually, it was shown on the previous page before I clicked on the detail. So right here, reserve 107. Okay, so pretty much the bank, once the bidding hits the 107 mark, they're going to sell the property. Okay, it's the winning bidder who's going to get the property. But guess what? Once you hit the reserve, they're going to give about 3-4 minutes for other people to again bid against the reserve price. So it's just a bidding war. And then these websites have what's called a proxy bidding. So they have employees bidding against you to up the pretty much offering price. So you just have, it's like a casino. You need to know your numbers, okay? You're gonna make money buying a property or getting the property at the right price on the contract, so you need to know your numbers. Okay, so that's auction.com. Let's go back to, I wanna show you the pre-foreclosure. Let's go back to where you are going to find better deals, because nobody's looking at these, okay? They're not for sale anywhere. So let me show you. In Chicago DealVault, we have pre-foreclosures right here. So these are the best 2 stages where I show you that you need to focus on. So it's pre-foreclosure. That happens 30 to 90 days after the owner defaulted in the mortgage. And then the second best option is the upcoming auction. This happens 30 to 90 days before the property goes to the judicial auction. Okay, so let me just pick pre-foreclosures. Okay, again, here owners are not going to be very motivated. They're going to be sort of in denial. So what we like to do is we like to focus on properties that have a lot of equity, meaning that the owner owes very little on the property, but yet the property is worth a lot. So there's a filter here. I just like to do the 50% equity, and then I'm going to pick for sakes King County, okay? And then search. So let's pick Aurora. It's a hot market. It's a very high growing market. So let's just quickly go over what you need to look at when analyzing pre-foreclosures. The first thing that you need to understand is obviously location. Like for instance, I told you Aurora is an upcoming market. It's a growing market. People are moving into Aurora. Aurora supports flips and rentals. Okay, so that's something that you do need to understand before doing anything. What exit strategies does the market support? Okay, so in here in area reports, you can look it up. Any area, we have over 300. So Aurora right here. So as you can see, the approach is the third column. It says flip and cash flow. It supports both exit strategies because you have flipping markets and rental markets. Aurora happens to be both of them, okay, which is good. It's a B market. It's great. Okay, so let's go back. It's location. It's super critical. Then the second thing that you need to look at is make sure that the property is in a quiet street. So I like to do the street view and map, right? So it seems like it's, let me do the map. You want to make sure that it's in a quiet street, right? So nowhere near busy roads, cemeteries, train tracks, airports, rivers, and so forth. So the second thing, once the location is good and the neighborhood is okay, let's look at the numbers, right? Because the numbers need to make sense. In this case, the owners, they have two, Gloria and Miguel, okay? The balance due is $74,000, but this property is worth about twice as much once it's fully rehabbed, okay? So they have over 50% equity. That's what you need to look for, okay? Why? Because you need meeting the bond to be able to negotiate, account for rehab, and obviously be able to make a profit whether you do a flip or a rental. So the next step is you need to know three numbers. How much are you going to spend in rehab? There's no way for you to know exactly until you see the property from the inside. And that's the beauty about pre-foreclosures, that you can get in touch with the owner to understand exactly what they need. Because above all, you've got to empathize and understand what they're going through. They're going through financial distress, denial. Okay, so you really need to listen to exactly what they want. Okay, they either want to stay in the home or they want to sell the property. If they want to stay in the home, the only choice is for them to refinance, try to pursue a short sale. If they want to sell the property, then you have a shot at it, right? Because then you can help them pay off the outstanding loan for $75,000 plus penalties, fees. They're in the hole for about $80,000, right? But still, if you pay even maybe $90,000 on a property that could be worth $150,000, and the rehab is just light or medium, you might get an awesome deal, right? So here we're going to give you an estimate for the rehab that is based on the square footage. So this is a very small property. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, about 1,000 square feet. Okay, so based on the square footage, we just give you an estimate. So 24, I'm going to make it 35,000 because I always like to add a cushion. So when you have that, guess what? We're going to give you the most you should pay, depending on your exit strategy. So the most you should pay if you're going to put in 35,000 into the property is $76,000. With $76,000, pretty much the owner is going to break even. They're going to be able to pay the outstanding loan, fees and penalties, and they won't have any money to relocate. So you may consider maybe paying them extra few thousand for them to sell you the property. It's a win-win, right? They'll get out of pre-foreclosure, you buy a great deal, paying 50, 60 cents on the dollar, and they have enough cash to relocate somewhere else, okay? So you always have to strike for a win-win for you and the owner, okay? But at least we give you a ballpark number of where you need to be should you need to make an offer on the property. So at this point, how do you get in touch with the owner? So let me show you. If I hover over or click on the name, boom, we're gonna get her phone number right here. Okay. So we get the phone number for Gloria, and what else are we getting? So the phone number. Now I'm gonna click on Miguel. Boom, we're gonna get Miguel. Okay. So let me tell you something really cool. Right here, the filing date occurred last December. So it's been probably just a couple of months, right, that they've been in pre-foreclosure. So let me show you something really cool. The last payment they made was back in December 2019. So the bank took about a year before the bank was able to file a pre-foreclosure, okay? And that's because of COVID. So it took a year for the bank to officially take them to court. But again, this is because of COVID. Otherwise, from the time they miss a payment, in this case, December of 2019, after 30 to 90 days, you would see a filing date right here. It would be like not December 2020, you would see maybe February, March 2020. Okay, but because of COVID, things just take a lot longer. Okay, so at this point, we have the option to reach out to the owner. And in fact, you know what? There's a question. How accurate is this data? The data is extremely accurate because we get all these records. They get updated daily, and we get these records from the courthouse. Okay, so people go out there, get the records, and we upload them into ChicagoDealVault. So they're extremely accurate, as well as the estimates that we give you on the ARV rehab estimates. Obviously, you've got to see the property from the inside. So that's what you need to do. So let's do something really cool out of the box, guys. So I'm gonna make a phone call to Gloria. you know, based on her last name, I'm sure she speaks Spanish. So obviously I speak Spanish. So I'm going to call her cell phone. What I'm going to do, this is my objective, guys, and this is what you should focus on. When you call an owner, you need to, number one, understand their motivation level. Either they're going to be a hot lead, warm lead, or cold lead. So if it's a hot lead, that means they really need to sell the property, okay? So that's what I want to find out first. Number two, whether they will be willing to entertain an offer, right? If they want to sell the property, because we want to see the property from the inside, whether it's virtually via pictures or make an appointment. So I'm just going to give her a call, okay? You don't need to, I have a script. So let me show you. This is the seller script that I have. This is what we use. It's a really, really amazing script that helps you empathize with the owner. Not only that, but help them understand what we can do and how we can help them. Okay, so it's a really cool script. We'll share this with all of you. But let's go back and make a quick phone call. I mean, it's going to take me just seconds and see if maybe I get a hold of her. Okay, so let me see. So the phone number is 630. I'm going to put her on the speakerphone, 508 0599. So I'm going to put her in the speakerphone.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless. The number you dialed has been.
Okay, it says the number, it's been disconnected. I'm going to try Miguel's, okay? So there are a couple of phone numbers in here. So I'm going to try this second one. It's 630-229-6686, okay? Let's just find out. Okay, it's ringing. Still ringing. I'm going to leave a message if he doesn't pick up, okay?
Next number that you are trying to reach is not in service.
Okay, it says the phone number is not in service. We have many more phone numbers right here. Just for sakes, let me quickly dial another one, okay? I'm gonna dial the last one, 630-851-1057.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless.
Okay, that's not it. So the exercise, friends, it's super simple, right? If I was to get a hold of them, I mean, I would need to try every single number, right? And if I'm not successful with the phone numbers, guess what the next step is? Door knocking. So I would go to the property and door knock, introduce myself. So you're gonna say something like this. Hey, Gloria, Miguel, I'm a real estate investor investing in Aurora, and I happen to realize that your property is in pre-foreclosure. Were you aware of it? Right? So you want to test the waters and find out if they are in denial, right? Because they might say, oh no, my house is not in pre-foreclosure, or yes, you know, my house, you know, we can't afford to pay the mortgage payments. We lost our jobs, so yeah, we're in pre-foreclosure for sure. Does that make sense? So you want to test out the waters, you want to find out their motivation level, and then try to understand exactly what they want to do with their property. Okay, so let's assume that they want to sell the property, they don't want to live there because they can't pay the mortgage. We would make them an offer, right? So all we do is click on make offer right here. It's the second button right here. So it will automatically generate a two-page contract that will allow you to get the property on the contract. So it's going to have the address, it's going to have your company name, a few contingencies, and that's it. So it's a two-page non-invasive contract that you can present to the owner. Of course, you need to present this either, I would say in person or via email, whichever way once you build rapport. But obviously you need to know the numbers, right? The most you're going to be able to offer is like 76,000 or 78,000, plus some relocation money. So maybe somewhere in the 80,000, okay? but at least you know the numbers. You know how to get in touch with them. You're intercepting the property before it goes to the judicial auction. Obviously, that's the place where you don't want to show up, or you want to intercept the property before it hits auction.com, right? You don't want to engage in a bidding war because you're going to most likely overpay for the property, and perhaps you might not be able to see the property from the inside, so it's too risky. You want to intercept the property when the owner is still in the deed, meaning they still own the property, and before obviously the property goes to the auction, or shares auction, just to be precise. Okay, so that's just an example how simple it is. And guess what? If we go back to the search criteria, we found 239 properties in Kane County with tons of equity. Okay, so it's just a matter of making few phone calls, because all of them, they're going to be awesome deals for the most part with a lot of equity. Like this property is too expensive, right? The ARV is almost $500,000. They are in the hook for about 230,000. Plus they have another lien. So if you scroll to the bottom, we're going to give you any other liens that they might have. Okay, so still all in, they're in the hole for about 300,000. But guess what? The property is worth like $500,000. We won't buy properties this expensive, okay? Because it's just too risky. The rehab, everything is way too risky. The numbers are not going to work for a buy and hold, and the flip for these luxury homes is extremely risky, especially with the pandemic. We're going to have declining corrective prices in the next 8 to 12 months. So we wouldn't buy this property, okay? But that's just an example of pre-foreclosures. And guess what? The same applies for upcoming auctions. This is one of my favorite lead pipes because they're going to be extremely motivated. So let me just give you an example how I do it. So I'm going to look for properties that are going to go to the judicial auction in the near future, 30 to 90 days down the road. So we're in February. I'm going to start searching for properties mid-March, okay? Because in case we get it on the contract now, we have enough time to close on the property before it goes to the judicial auction, okay? So again, I'm gonna do 50% equity, Kane County, and then search. Let's see what happens. So I came up with 3 properties, okay? Right here, so I'm just gonna click on one of them. Okay, before we go into more details, I wanna answer some of the questions, okay? Where is the script in the program? Okay, Zora. So let me share that with you in just a second. Asma is asking another question. Are the information on DealVault the same as Zillow pre-foreclosures? So it's some of the properties may overlap, but the big difference is that we're going to give you a lot more information than Zillow is going to give you, okay? Because we're going to be able to skip trace the owner. We are also going to be able to pull up more details on the owner information and any history. So let me just show you, like right here, I know that Miguel is on the deed, okay? And then if I scroll down, I'm gonna know how much he paid in the past, how much the loan is outstanding for, and so forth, okay? So we're gonna give you a little bit more information for sure. Not only that, but we have a really cool integration with Trulia, okay? And what I love about this is the following. Through Trulia, we have a heat map. So let me show you this. You see these blue, darker blue squares? Guess what? Those are high crime areas. So what I love about this integration that we have is we can identify if the property is in a high risk or high crime pocket. Every neighborhood has pockets. As you can see, look, most of these houses or streets are okay, but look at this. There's like 2 blocks or 3 blocks that is like darker blue. That means it's not safe. Okay. Look at this, even the darkest. So Aurora, it's a great market However, you've got to know the pockets, because if you happen to buy a property in a high crime pocket, guess what? Your ARV, your resale value is going to decrease big time. So you've got to understand not only the neighborhood, you know, overall, what Aurora supports, flips and rentals and so forth, but you also need to understand the pockets where the property is located. So we give you that information. We give you floodplain information, market trends in the neighborhood. So it's really powerful, okay? So that all those integrations are embedded within ChicagoDealVault. So you won't get that through Zillow. Great question. Now, the other question was, where do I get this script from? Let me pull up the script that I was using. This one, right? Where do I get this from? So we have a library of scripts I'm going to share with you in just a second. But in ChicagoDealVault, hold on a second. Okay, so in ChicagoDealVault, we have in the search and criteria section, here we have a few templates that you can use. All of these are scripts that you can use to reach out to the owner. So let me show you. Pick one of them and do a preview. This is sort of like the script that you can also use when you get on the phone with them. We have a ton of them. We have like 10 or 12 that are extremely powerful. So you can use these as well. Look, problem solvers. I love this one, okay? So it's similar, very simple scripts that you can use when you get on the phone, or you can do mailers, okay? Although keep in mind, the open rate is about 5%. So if you do 100 letters, you are lucky if you get 5 responses. So the way to do mailers, let me show you, very simple. Just pick the ones you are interested in. I'm just gonna click on them and then click a button, and that's it. Print your own letters and labels. And guess what? We are going to do the mail merge for you with the template that you picked. And we're also gonna print the labels for you. Okay, so this is all your company information, and this is the template that I chose. So it's gonna have our phone number, company name, signature. So we just need to print this out and put it in the mail. It is that simple, okay, just to do the mailers, okay? So let me see if there are any other questions on the line. Yes, Dr. Saed, how can a private money lender be able to do due diligence when a borrower approaches him on a loan auction property like title, ARV? Oh, great question. How can we reduce his risk? Hugo, how can a private money lender? Okay, this is a great question. So thank you, Dr. Said. So how can a private money lender be able to do due diligence when a borrower approaches him for a loan on an auction property? Okay, like the title, ARV, rehab figures, survey. How can we reduce his risk? Okay, Jerry, great question. Okay, so the way to mitigate the private money lender's concern is by doing not only due diligence on the numbers, that everything that I show you, but you also need to pull comps, meaning comparables. You also need to do a scope of work, okay? This is just to mitigate the risk of the private money lender. So I'm gonna give you an example. Hey, Phil, can you send me via the chat the flyer for the Wholesale property? Let me see if I can find it. So guys, I'm gonna show you what you need to present to the private money lenders, okay? Just to mitigate, help understand what they're getting into, okay? So let me quickly do a search. Okay, I think I found it, Phil. So let me pull it up for everyone to see. Okay, so I have it up on the screen, friends. This is what you need to do to present the deal for funding. Okay, this is just an example of the due diligence. Okay, so In this case, you're going to put all the description of the property. You're going to need to pull some comps. So this is what ChicagoDealVault generates. So you're going to do a flip analysis, okay, because we have a flip calculator. You're going to do a buy and hold analysis right here. We have a rental calculator. You're going to be able to pull some comps from the MLS through ChicagoDealVault. So you want to make sure that you compare apples with apples right here. So you're going to show these. You also need to show that the comps are within a half a mile or 1 mile radius sold in the last 6 months. And finally, you have to show two things: pictures, okay? And if you do an inspection, make sure that you get a written report by the inspector, okay? That's gonna show you everything that's wrong with the property, okay? But tons of pictures that could be included in the inspection report. And finally, that is very important, you need a scope of work. So let me show you what the scope of work looks like. Okay, so it's itemized. You're gonna go on every pretty much section of the property. From demolition, you're gonna do the core, the shell, you're gonna do electric, HVAC, plumbing, drywall, flooring, kitchen, bathrooms. So everything is itemized, okay? So this is super important, okay, to present to the private money lender to mitigate the risk, okay? Now, this is just a step one for you as an investor to present to the hard money lender. And you can do this exactly the same report for auction properties, okay? Now, once the private money lender, like Dr. Saeed, right, if he feels comfortable with your experience, your analysis on the property, he may also want to see a title search, right? Because he wants to understand if there are any backed up taxes, any liens on the property. So if you're gonna close on the property, let's say using either one of our attorneys, Gary Davidson or Gina Diaz, or you're gonna use title services like from Dan Carlton, they're gonna be able to do a title search for you, okay? Just to help mitigate the risk for the private money lender, and of course for you as a buyer or investor. Now, another question is all the due diligence done by the borrower before bidding on the auction? Absolutely, great question. So yes, you've got to do your due diligence on the property before bidding on it, okay? Because if you're the winner of the auction, okay, guess what? You're going to be able to get out of it. But again, few websites are going to blacklist you if you back out 2 or 3 times. I think it's 2 or 3 times from Hubzo.com. I'm not sure about auction.com, but they're going to blacklist you. They won't let you bid anymore if you back out of the deal. Okay, super important. So the first thing that you need to do is, you know, when the property is going to go up for auction. So you've got to do your due diligence, see if the property makes sense location-wise. Take a peek through the windows. You've got to physically go see the property. Super important. You may not be able to see the property from the inside, but at least you might hopefully be able to see through the windows to find out what the condition of the property. Okay, so yeah, the borrower has to do the due diligence. So it's not the private money lender's job to do the due diligence. It's the opposite. You've got to create a funding proposal like the one I show you, so that you help understand and mitigate the risks for the private money lender. Another question is that in the program, the itemized sheet? Yeah, absolutely. So we had a couple of GCs come out to the property and they gave us the scope of work. But in ChicagoDealVault right here, we have a Rehab Estimator. So let me just quickly show you. If I go to the property, right here, I have the flip calculator. I have the rental calculator. We have the Rehab Estimator. So it's by section. Everything that you saw in the report is right here. So all you need to do is plug in the numbers and boom, it's just gonna make it part of the report. Okay, and then the comps, you can pull in the comps right here just with a click of a button, boom. Okay, so Dr. Saed is saying that the property that I was just showing you guys, this one, was presented to him. Okay, he's lending on this property. So this property came from our wholesale team. Okay, so we have a wholesale team comprised of like over 80 people. Okay, so somebody got it on the contract. We did some due diligence, and then we send it out to ChicagoDealVault members, and then one of our members saw it. He had seen the property from the inside, and he pretty much sent this funding proposal to Dr. Saed, and in fact, he's lending on this transaction. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Said, for your feedback and input. There's another question. There are so many properties being offered for sale, but a lot of them are being offered with people inside. They also tell you not to approach the occupants. These occupied properties seem to be very risky. Your thoughts? Okay, that's a great question. Okay, so let me show you right here in auction.com. You see the status. It says vacant. Let me see if there's one that says occupied. Okay, so let me just go to this property in auction.com. If it's an auction, interior access, no. Okay, occupied. Okay, so guess what? Even if it says occupied, you have to physically go see the property, because we bought several properties from the bank, and it says that it's been occupied. So if you're going to buy a property that is occupied, you have to have a cash for keys agreement, meaning that you've got to approach the homeowner and say, hey, listen, I'm buying the property, but I need access to the property, and I need to take possession of the premises in about 45 days. If you're okay with it, in exchange for your support, I'm going to give you $3,000–4,000. Let's say $3,000. Okay. So they need to sign it in writing, and if you have that agreement, then you can move forward. Otherwise, it's too risky to buy an occupied property. I'm going to tell you why. Because for funding reasons, if you use a hard money lender, guess what? They're going to require an appraisal. And if the owner doesn't let you in the property or let the appraiser in the property, guess what? You won't get funding. Private money lenders may not require an appraisal on the property, but the second risk is that they may vandalize the property, and with COVID, there's a moratorium for eviction that Biden is pushing till September. So you may not take possession of the property maybe in the next 7 to 12 months, right? So it's for sure a no-go if it's occupied. Okay, so let me look for the cash for keys agreement because we just did one about a month ago. Let me see, cash for keys. Okay, so it's right here on the screen, guys. We just did this about in December. Okay, so let me maximize this. So this is what it looks like. This property is in Burbank, okay? And we could buy the property from the owner. So the first thing that we did is all the numbers made sense. Location was awesome. But guess what? As soon as we went to the property, it was occupied. So I had our guy, our partner, knock on the door, and I told him, please try to do a cash for keys, okay? Because it's a great property, the numbers make sense. Unless we do a cash for keys agreement, we're not buying the property. So indeed, we did. It was November 20th, 2020. We paid $3,000. Okay, so the condition is that they're going to surrender possession to the premises when we close on the property, and in exchange for $3,000. Okay, so the property that I'm referring to, it's what's the property address? Oh, right here. This is the property address. So we bought the property having the cash for keys. We gave $3,000 to the owner, and this is the property. Okay, so we bought it for 102,000. We put in about 46,000, so about 150 all in. This property will sell for close to 200,000, and we just completed the rehab about I don't know, about a week ago. and it got rented right away. Okay, so this is the property. This was occupied. We would not have bought this property had we not done a cash for keys agreement. Okay, there's no way. Okay, because now with COVID, there's no way to take possession of the property. So great question. Yeah, don't buy properties occupied unless you have a cash for keys. So Jesse, yeah, Biden is pushing for September for an eviction moratorium and for a foreclosure moratorium. September, I mean, it's going to put a lot of pressure in real estate. Okay. So having said that, guys, let's just quickly summarize because we talked a lot about everything. I just want to quickly summarize what we talked about because I want to make sure that you fully understand and focus on what's important. Okay, I want to summarize everything we talked about in 1 minute, 1.5 minutes. Okay, so pre-foreclosure. Okay, what it means is that the bank is going to take over the property because the owner is not able to pay for the mortgage. Because Illinois is a judicial state, that means that the bank has to go through the court system. It could take up to 2 years. Okay, so after 30 to 90 days, boom, the bank will officially go through the court system to file a foreclosure on the owner. At that point, thumbs up, reach out to the owner. They might be in denial, but it's off market, technically not for sale. Make sure you empathize with them. Call them and look for properties that have a lot of equity. The advantages are no competition. You can finance the deal through a hard money lender or private money lender. You won't overpay for the property, okay? And you get to see it from the inside. The second best lead pipe is 30 to 90 days before it goes to the judicial auction, trustee auction, or shares auction at the courthouse, okay? So you intercept the property just a little bit before. The big advantage is the owner is gonna be so motivated because otherwise they're gonna lose their home, ruin their credit, and lose their equity. So reach out to them, try to buy the property from them if they have a lot of equity. Obviously, they're motivated. And the second and the third best lead pipe is bank-owned properties, okay? It went to the judicial auction at the courthouse where you don't want to be. That's a shark tank. You're gonna be eaten alive. You may lose your shirt if you don't know what you're doing. So the third best lead pipe is bank-owned properties, okay? And the banks are gonna put all their properties, all their inventory in these auctioning sites like auction.com, hubzu.com, Xom, Hudson and Marshalls, and Williams, okay? Again, here, always buy vacant properties. Do due diligence and present the deal to get it funded, okay? You need to do both, a flip and a buy and hold exit strategy. You've got to pull comps from the MLS through ChicagoDealVault, and then finally, make sure that you do pictures, lots of pictures, and scope of work. Super important, okay? You need to understand exactly how much you're gonna spend on the rehab, okay? And finally, as I said, don't buy properties that are occupied because of the moratorium. It's way too risky, okay? There's another question. So if there's a cash for keys agreement, how can you make sure that they follow through? Do they have to vacate as soon as they sign it? No, just like the one I show you on the screen. They don't need to vacate when they sign it. They need time, right? They need to clean up. They need to leave it in a good condition. They have to be, you know, take everything, all their belongings, and vacate, leave the premises when you close on the property or a few days before, which is what we did. We gave them about 30 days or 45 days to do whatever it takes for them to find another place, move out. So few days before closing, we came to the property, we did a walkthrough, everything was good. They gave us the keys and boom, we gave them a cashier's check for $3,000. But obviously we had this agreement in writing before we signed the sales contract with the bank. We wouldn't have done the sales contract with the bank had we not done a cash for keys agreement with the owner. There's no way we're gonna buy a property that is occupied. It's too risky. They can vandalize it. We will never be able to get them out, right? Anytime soon with COVID. So great point, okay? So guys, now what I wanna show you is somebody was asking about the scripts. So all the insiders information that we have, we have created 2 programs for all of you, okay, guys? Because I want to make sure that if you want to focus in wholesaling, you join our wholesale inner circle. If you want to do flips and buy and hold, we have created a cash flow inner circle. So let me quickly show you what that is. And you can join our first meeting for the cash flow inner circle in about a week's time for free. So let me show you what this is all about. So let me show you okay, this is the cash flow. So let me show you. Actually, this is the other one. Okay, so let me show you the cash flow. We're gonna start with the cash flow. So we call these the DealVault Academy, okay? And we have 2 groups, wholesale and cash flow. So cash flow, this is what we're gonna give you, right? It's a hands-on approach. We're gonna give you behind the scenes secrets, just like the ones I was showing you, right? Cash for keys and many more things like preferred partners, private money lenders, and so forth. So it's going to be hands-on, helping hand. We are also going to go over, we're going to have a weekly mastermind every Sunday where we do training calls, okay? We do deal reviews. We're going to have an exclusive Facebook group, and we have some, this is our list of advisors. I'm probably, you know, some of them or all of them. And finally, we are going to go over a 10-week training program, right? From essentials, area selection, finding deals, deal analysis, contracts, funding, closing the deal, rehab, property management, and building a rental empire. So we are building what's called an online platform. Okay, so all the training is going to be in an online platform. Okay, so it's going to be really cool. So if you want to be part of this, please make sure that you fill this out. I'm going to send this form for you to fill out if you want to be part of the cash flow inner circle. Starting, the kickoff is going to be in about a week's time. Okay, we're going to let you know. We already have about 40 people. Okay, so we're going to put you in a team. Okay, so let me show you. We already have like close to 40 people right now. Okay, so we're gonna group you in teams based on your goals, what's holding you back, and your geographic location. Okay, so that is why the form that we send to you is to help us understand what you need and how we can help you. Okay, so that's if you want to do fix and flips and buy and hold. If you want to do wholesales, we have exactly the same approach, but exclusively for wholesaling. Okay, so let me show you what the agenda for the wholesaling is. So we're going to be talking about getting started, business setup, lead generation, lead management, meeting the seller, and the art of negotiation. Okay, so it's free to join. The first meeting after that is going to be $59 a month, or if you do a 6-month commitment, it's going to be $287. But all you need to do is fill out the form. For now, we're going to invite you to our first or next either wholesale or cash flow inner circle meeting. Okay, so this is the inner circle form for the wholesale. Like, in fact, this deal that I just showed to you guys came from the wholesale inner circle. Okay, this also property came from the wholesale inner circle. Okay, so this came from one of our students. Okay, and then another DealVault member is buying the property. Okay, so if you want to be part of these inner circles, please make sure that you fill this up, and then we're going to give you access for the first meeting. As part of being a member of these groups, we're going to give you access to all the scripts. Okay, somebody was asking about the scripts. So let me just show you. We have scripts, we have contracts, we have the whole 9 yards. So let me show you. We have just a folder with tons of scripts, Facebook scripts, seller ignition templates. We have strategic seller scripts. So we have them all. Okay, you don't need to think, create nothing. We're gonna give you everything: contracts, scripts, recordings, everything you need, including technology. Okay. Super powerful. I want to make sure that you join either one of those 2 groups or both groups if you're interested in taking your real estate investment efforts to the next level. Okay, so please make sure that you fill those forms out. Another question is, yes, if you're a Blue Angel member, great question, you do have access to the inner circle, okay? Blue Angel, that means that you are a yearly subscriber of ChicagoDealVault. Phil, can you please send a text instruction on how to become a Blue Angel, or meaning a yearly subscriber, please, via the chat. So just send a text to 818-818 with the keyword Blue_Angel with your contact information, and then you're gonna get access to Blue Angel. Being a Blue Angel member gives you free access to the inner circles. Super, super powerful. Okay, are there any other questions on the line? Thank you, Dr. Saeed, for having joined the webinar. Your support, your feedback is greatly appreciated as always. Okay, so another question is, if we subscribe to the DealVault and pay every month, is that the Blue Angel? Okay, so Zora, great question. If you're talking about the inner circle is sort of like training, mentoring, live calls, deal reviews, resources. So that's separate from having access to ChicagoDealVault. Okay, so if you pay for ChicagoDealVault, this is $140 a month to have access to all the leads, all the trainings that we have within ChicagoDealVault. That's $140, which is separate from the inner circles. That's $59. Okay. Now, if you are a Blue Angel member, meaning you pay $14.40 per year, okay, you have access to all. Okay, so you have access to ChicagoDealVault plus inner circle. Okay, so when you become a yearly subscriber, we give it all to you. We want to make sure there's nothing on the way preventing you from being more successful. Okay, so we like when people commit. So when people commit, we incentivize commitment. Okay, so if you commit for a yearly subscription, you're even going to be saving like over 25%. Okay, when you do the yearly subscription. Can I get in touch with you or Dr. Saeed to talk about my situation? Yeah, of course. Can you please send us your cell phone number, and then we're going to call you right after the webinar.